Thank you for joining Toxin Magazine's Everything Old School podcast. Tonight, we are here with BernNadette, better known as Thelma from Good Times. I'm your host, Shanique Bird, along with Marquise Morrow. BernNadette,
Yes.
you introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are.
Well, I did play the character Thelma on Good Times, and that has stuck with me for the last 40 years, which is okay. It's wonderful. I thank God every day for that, because I mean, what show do you know is out there, and you get generations upon generations that are watching it.
Well, I wanted to ask you, BernNadette, aka Thelma, for those who are watching. Now, the last time we spoke, you told me that you were the first Black teenager, or first Black girl, teenage girl on TV. And I asked you, is that in your bio? And you said, I don't know. Is it? Do you know? Is it in your bio? Because it needs to be.
My bio. In fact, I have to look at it myself to see if my manager updated that, because that is really true. I was the very first Black female teenager portrayed on television.
So you're not only a part of TV history, you're a part of Black history, and that needs to be known. Yes. Because people just know you as Thelma, but they don't know that you are also a part of Black history.
Right, the first one. And very interesting, we were talking about this the other day, that as writers on the show, being that they were mostly 50, 60-year-old white men that were writing for the part, a few younger ones too, but they really didn't know who I was. They didn't understand who this teenager living in the projects really was, what type of personality, what is this? So they didn't really write for me. They wrote lines, generic lines. And one time, it was about 6 months into the show, I was still getting the same 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. And I went home. When I came home, I spoke with Esther, and I said, I used to call her Mom. I said, Mom, I was so bored this week on the show. I was so bored. I really was. And I said, gee, I could do a lot more. I mean, I could really, really handle lines, So she said, she looked at me and she said, okay. And she said, well, let me handle it. And she did. After the reading that Friday, she asked the producers some questions about, are you ashamed of my daughter? Oh, no, we're not ashamed of your daughter. And she said, well, my son JJ has a lot to say. My son Michael has a lot to say. And I would like my daughter to have a voice also. And they said, certainly, but they still didn't know what voice she would have. So Esther told me to go up to the producers, upstairs to the writers, and have a meeting with them and tell them who Thelma was.
That's beautiful. So is it fair to say that Miss Rowe brought balance as to the show? She brought class and balance to the show?
Right. And she wanted her female child to have a voice and to have an opinion and to be as important and, confident in the character as the other two. So she definitely did that for me. And she looked at me, she gave me that look, and I gave her that look like, Mom, I'm not gonna let you down, And so that's where Thelma got a lot of leeway to be herself.
Now, I also wanted to ask, a lot of people think that the show took place in Chicago, but you told me it took place in Hollywood, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So did you have to move to Hollywood?
Yes, I did.
How being from Brooklyn, you had to move to Hollywood?
Yes, I had to move to Hollywood. I had to move to Hollywood. And eventually I had to learn how to drive. Because you don't need to drive in New York or Brooklyn.